Hey friends, Jessie here from jessiebanks.com and welcome back to another video. Today I am playing with some Altenew stamps, inks, distress inks, assignments of stamp die, all sorts of fun stuff. No coloring, which is very weird for me, so I'm not sure how y'all are going to take that. Let me know if you are okay with it. But when I started here, I started with a piece of, this is Fabriano Artistico watercolor paper, but it's the cream one. I just had a scrap of it and I'm like, ooh, I'll use that. It doesn't stamp very well. If I was to do it again, I'd use cream cardstock, but at this point I was like, meh, might as well finish it. So we did 2 cards because I didn't like this. You'll see in a second. So I was like, ooh, I'll do it on white cardstock. Same colors, right? Here we go. So we'll stamp this one out and way better. So I double stamped everything just to make sure I had good coverage. This is, I think it's called the coffee lover set of stamps. Here, I have it right beside me. The coffee break. So you get espresso, mocha, rocky shore, and sand dunes in it. And I'm going to use all 4 ink colors to stamp out different florals and leaves from the Frosted Floral stamp set from Altenew. Double stamping everything on the white cardstock as well as on the watercolor paper. And you can definitely see the difference in the way it stamps just because of all the texture in the watercolor paper. Like I said, I'd use cream cardstock next time. But at this point, I'm finishing it. It is what it is. They both look really cute in the end, actually. So here I am stamping out just the leaves. Now I'm on to the darkest color. I didn't know what image I wanted to stamp out with that second to darkest, so I just held off. Getting all of this stamping done. So much stamping. This is weird for me. I had a blast making these cards. Moving craft rooms to the main floor as opposed to the basement where I really liked this. Hang on, I digress. Where it was stamped off and it was a lighter version of that color. We may play with that later, but it didn't work for this card. Anyway, this having my craft room on the main floor means I'm not cold all the time. My basement isn't like super cold. My kid's bedroom's down there. He's quite fine, but he runs hot and he's got heat and everything down there. I'm just a cold person in general. So I just find having it on the main floor, I spend a lot more time in here. And when I'm making things, I'm willing to spend time playing with things that I wasn't before when I could just go and color and be done. So you may see lots more stuff like this from me. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, give it a thumbs up. Then I know that I'm good to mix everything up. I spent forever fussy cutting all of those images. I don't have the dies. I did it all with scissors. Now I have some 8 1/4 by 3.5 inch Bristol cardstock that I am doing my ink blending on. I really do like the Bristol for ink blending. I'm starting off with the oxides, and this is Mermaid Lagoon using the round blending tool from Tim Holtz, and this is some tumbled glass. And I'm just going to keep going until I get the coverage of color that I want. It definitely takes some time. I do want to pick up some of those like makeup brushes that the companies are all selling now for ink blending. I did use the Clarity Stamps brushes for the second background here, but I don't know. They aren't my favorite. I really like them through use of stencils and things, but I don't think for blending a whole background it was ideal. Once I got my blue nice and shaded on there, I grabbed the Vintage Photo. Again, we're dealing with oxides. I did this all with oxides, and I'm just putting in a light coat of that just to warm it up. Then I went back over it with some blue to make sure it all faded together the way I wanted, and I'm just working back and forth. I really wanted kind of that vintagey look to the background simply because our flowers were all stamped in brown, so it worked out really well. Getting that all blended out, I decided I needed a little more blue, so we take it all the way down. I want to make sure that that transition is smooth. And now I have the ground espresso, and I'm just lightly going over those corners and the edge just a tiny little bit to darken it up and give it a little bit more of a vignette with that darker color. I didn't want to pull that one too far out onto the face of the card. And you can see how I'm using a piece of scrap paper there to hold my cardstock down. That's just so I don't get fingerprints all over everything. Now I'm back into the blue because I thought that bottom corner was a little too stark white. And then I'm going to take whatever ink is left on that ink blending tool and just wrap it around the entire frame of the card. Now we're on to the one with the Clarity Stamps brushes. And you can see how fast I've sped this up. This took a long time. And I'm just brushing and brushing and brushing and brushing and brushing and trying to create a similar look to the first one. Now, of course, with the brushes, the amount of ink it lays down is a lot less than the foam blending tools. So it is going to be a lighter look, which I thought would be fun with the images that I stamped in watercolor paper, just because you see that cream color through it. So I figured if we're going to be doing 2 different stampings, let's apply the ink in 2 different ways, but use the same colors as well. So once I get that blue blended out, now I have another brush here with some brown on it. And again, we're back into the vintage photo. I'm just slowly working at blending that. It definitely takes more time to lay down more color, but I do like how it is a little softer. Like I said, those makeup brushes, well, I have makeup brushes like that, but they're for my makeup. But those blending brushes that the companies are putting out now, I think I need to pick up a couple of those. Now, again, with the ground espresso, making sure I go all the way around the image just to add that little bit of a vignette. And then we'll start putting them together. So here we have those. I'm just going to splatter some water on them and dot that up. Since I did use Distress ink, I figured I should take advantage of the ability to do that. I created another little tiny piece of that off camera, and we're going to cut. Holy, I can't speak. And we're going to die cut out the Miss You dies from Simon Says stamp. So these are from the CZ design line. And I cut out the background for them in white cardstock. And then on that, as you saw, that ink blended piece of card is where I cut out the Miss You sentiment from. Same one for both images. Just going to adhere all of that together using some Simon Says stamp crafty tacky glue. I really like this. It works great for me. It takes a long time to go through. I don't use it for everything, just for things like this. So that's what those sentiments look like. Caught me off guard that the O and the U was cut out, but it's fine. I just wasn't ready for that. Now I'm deciding where I'm going or which one I'm going to put on which, and it was the way I thought. So we're going to go that way. And then I'm just going to start laying them all out. So I want that big lightest one to be at the front. It's kind of my focal image. And I'm just going to mimic them on both card fronts. They're not going to be exactly the same, but they'll be close enough that we can see the two different looks at the end. So I'm just going to futz and place pieces all over the place and decide where I want them. And see how I'm kind of twisting and turning, but I'm keeping everything relatively the same. When I put one piece on one card front, I'm putting the other piece on the other just to make sure that I don't have to fight with it at the end. And I'm really happy with the way these came out. I think they're super pretty. So there's our sentiment, just kind of to give us an idea here. This was probably one of the funnest parts, was just playing with all the pieces that I've cut out and everything to figure out where I wanted them to be on the card. I had that extra dark leaf and I didn't know where to put it. I had it up at the top, hated that. Decided to tuck it right behind the main flower as well. So we're going to do that. And then I was watching Dawn from W+9 the other day in her live. I like hanging out in Dawn's live. She's hilarious. And she used her press and seal, which is what this is, which I bought forever ago. And I didn't buy it for my kitchen because I don't use it in the kitchen. And I was like, that must be what I bought it for. So I've moved it to the craft room and it worked fantastic. So I'm going through and I'm putting adhesive on the back of all of the lower ones. That lighter flower I wanted to pop up, so I put no adhesive on those. And then I'm just going to press it back onto the front and let it sit for a minute to make sure everything dries a little bit. And I did the same with the other one, and then we'll pull it up, and that leaves us that image that isn't adhered down because I didn't put any glue on it, because I paid attention to what I was doing for a change. Y'all should be proud of me. And now I am going to take that and I'm going to put some foam tape on them and pop them up from our images. I don't even know where I got this foam tape from. I had like 100 rolls of it and I think this is the last one. So I am going to have to find a new foam tape to use soon, but that's okay. So once we get it all foamed up, and I'm not being cheap on the foam tape, I want to make sure that it is going to stay up off the page and not sag, or up off the card front and not sag or anything like that, just because it drives me crazy when things sag down. So once we get those put on, there are a few places where the leaves overlapped, or the flowers, and you couldn't put the adhesive there. So I decided that I'm going to put foam tape behind it and have that lift off the card a little bit as well, just for a little bit more dimension to it. So just a couple places on both cards. And then I will pull back our sentiment here, which is that Miss You that we die cut out from Simon Says stamp, and I'm going to add a little foam tape to the one side of it that doesn't sit on top of the flowers. And I had to move that over because it hangs off the card a little bit on this one. And then we will add the other one to the other card. And then under the M there, I'm just going to add a little bit of glue so that I can stick it down onto that flower so that it doesn't come off quite so easy. And then I wanted to add like a secondary little banner type sentiment to it. So I pulled back out that Frosted Florals stamp set. And we are going to use the Sending Hugs image from that. Oh wait, I lied. I'm going to glue it onto the card base first. I had the tape on the back. I decided to put it on. My bad. But then we will add the Sending Hugs sentiment. So I just stamped it on some of that white cardstock that I had left over from the card bases. Cut them into a little bit of a banner, and you'll see me adhere them onto the bottom. I did miss recording the last little bit, so you guys won't see me wave by and all that stuff that I usually do. But that is it for today's card. I will have all the links posted in the description box below. If you have any questions or anything like that, definitely shoot me a comment. I try to reply to everything that I can or every question that there is. I do work a full-time job, so I'm not always able to sit and reply, but definitely if there's questions and stuff, I will make sure that there is time to do that. If you guys aren't subscribed to my channel, I'd love for you to subscribe. It means a lot. It helps me out, and thumbs up or thumbs down if you don't like it really do the most for the channel itself. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys very soon for another one. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.